I'm trying to wrap my head around it. I don't really understand. We talked about 2 hostages being released. Shaun King was involved in that one, according to him. Before we get into the actual news and facts, you did a whole expose on Shaun King as well on fraudsters.
Yeah, Shaun King.
Why?
Yeah.
Why'd you do that?
Again, the Justin Williams was really passionate about covering
So
Shaun
you
King.
blaming it on the black guy?
Yes, because I stay away from it's a third rail. Who am I? I'm not originating. Dr. Umar Johnson, that's Justin. People have called and yelled at me about Dr. Umar Johnson.
You don't find that
was
suspicious?
Justin. And then when we got into it, I was like, wow. And I'll tell you, so this is the way I like to view our fraudsters. Let me view them in the light most favorable to them. Let me view them in the most positive possible light. And if they are still an asshole, and if they are still a lying, cheating fraudster, then you get a series. And that's what happens with Shaun King. In the best view of Shaun King, he is grossly negligent and irresponsible, raising money for victims of police violence, and the money doesn't get to them. Using churches as fronts for fundraising, and the money doesn't go where it should go. Being irresponsible with his money, and the money just kind of flies away. These are huge, huge problems that you cannot do. Creating an apparel company and stealing the photos from the supplier and saying that you're the one hiring these women of color to do it when inherently you're not. He's got fundamental savior complex issues. And the real tragedy of this is that a lot of middle-aged white women love Shaun King. And and I know this because they all messaged me and said, I have loved Shaun King. I can't believe I'm learning about all of this about him. Thank you. And that blew me away. And so this is the real insidious nature of what he's done. And again, view him in the light most favorable to him, and he still is a huge problem. You cannot verify. He had someone audit his books. It was his friend. He had an internal person audit his books. It's a wrap, buddy. You're goodbye. Keep it moving.
Disclosure. There was a backdoor thread where a bunch of people were on it with this same audit, and asking people to support publicly, blah, blah, blah. There was a time when I was privy to this stuff because, he was on the show when we first started. Mike Brown was killed. And then it was, oh my goodness. Well, Eric Garner and Terrence Stansbury. And I was just thinking off the top of my head, like, I remember it was like it was yesterday, because it was like a domino of people being killed by police. Alton Sterling, then Tamir Rice. And to me, it was important, just like today, to have people humanize stories, to not have Eric Garner just be some man selling Lucy cigarettes, but he was a father who, was actually breaking up a fight that day. But let's talk to his daughters. Let's talk to his mom. Tamir Rice. We talked to his mom. Shaun King was coming on the show regularly, telling the stories of people, which I thought was not just a public service, but it was important that we get a rounded view, because the media is lazy and they're going to show you a picture of Tamir Rice, throwing up a middle finger, and not that he was a 12-year-old little boy, who was playing with a toy gun. Now we can discuss why was he in the park playing with a toy gun, but that he doesn't deserve to die in 3 seconds because a police officer doesn't see him as human. So that has been like kind of my thing. Like we have to humanize folks so that we can see each other in each other. So he was doing a great job. And I think to this day, like, that was really something of value. I did something, I used to do White in America, where I'd have all white panels talking about race. I did one with people who might have been ambiguous, like Shaun King, his story. I believe him that he has a black dad, that his mom did not tell him who his father was, but people do not. And I love the nicknames because they're clever. I just have to admit, I think the latest one is Rice Spice. That makes me laugh. It just does. I get some cathartic joy out of the, Martin Luther Cream and all. Like, I don't know. Talcum X. It's funny. It's a little funny, even though I do believe that he has a black dad. I'm not questioning that. And so we talked about that with Eartha Kitt's daughter. I was always kind of like trying to find where we can have our humanity and center that. but he blocked me. I don't know why he blocked me on Twitter. It's fine. He probably blocked me because I might have said something. I'm sure I did. I'm sure I tweeted
You say
something.
something? I don't
I
think so.
might
You were
have. I
probably
might. I
silent.
don't remember now, but I'm sure I own it. I own it. So I'm
Yeah.
blocked. So I don't know what he's doing. He's been up with his kids. His kids are adorable. His wife is beautiful. You know, it's like I have nothing personal. He used to be a pastor. I think inherently, like he does have a savior complex. I think there is something maybe not completely healthy in a way in which, and I don't think he's good with money. I don't think he should be managing the money. Maybe I don't know.
This is the exact same thing Wyclef did. I don't want to question what's in his heart. But I
Praz.
will. No,
Oh,
no, but
Wyclef. Oh, Wyclef.
Wyclef. Wyclef, you want to go save everybody? Great. You got a good heart. Go save people, but you don't have the brains to do it. And it's irresponsible and negligent for people to depend on you and for you to take people's money that are going to trust you with that money to execute on that vision.
Let's not say brains. Let's say experience. Because I'm not going to question their intelligence. I'm going to say they don't have the experience. It's like, I shouldn't do brain surgery. I'm pretty smart. I'm sure I could read a book. I still would not be qualified.
Yes.
I'm saying I will understand
These hands.
I still would not be qualified to do brain surgery. And I respect my intellect, but they're just areas that you're out of your depth. And even financially, I can manage a little bit of my own money, but I have people to manage because I don't have the time or the bandwidth. But even if I do, there are levels to this. There are levels, and you should have people who watch the people who watch the people. You should just have your back with the back on the back. You should have backups to the backup plan. Especially when you're handling that much of other people's money. I wouldn't even want that responsibility. That's crazy.
Absolutely. I don't want it. I don't even want to ask people for money for my own show because I don't want there to be a sense that I'm like profiting up. I'll take the ad money. You know what I mean? Give me the ad.
Yes.
That's clean. It's transact. I don't want someone that's working, a rough job to pay me $1 a month. So I give them some content. They'll be like, oh, this is unfair. You know what I mean? Once I know for sure how money will be used, then I will do it. But I'm not going to put people in that position. And with the recent stuff with Shaun King just now, I mean, he has entered into a 3,000-year-old dispute, a conflict that is as old as time. And he is, well, let me just say, I hope, I really pray that I'm wrong. I hope that I have to put out an entire episode on the King Accords because there is now peace in the Middle East because of Shaun King. That's what he's saying. He's saying he's brokering peace.
Well, that didn't happen today. There were people were bombed today, even though there was a hope that there might be some sort of ceasefire to get some humanitarian aid. We're talking about now days without water, days without food, days without medical, without medicine, period, without anesthesia. There are 2 doctors, no nurses. People are pulling people out of rubble that are injured, but there's no real, no way to help folk. And that can't be okay. I was watching was the Queen of what country? The Queen of, I can't think of her. She's Palestinian, Queen of Jordan. Yes. Queen of Jordan was being interviewed by, what am I blanking on this? CNN. What's her name? She's good. Come on, Cena. You see her? She's like she's the best. Hold on, CNN journalist. Let me type that in, and it'll come up. Thank you, Smith. Christiane Amanpour. She's only journalist.
She's Iranian. Yeah.
Yes. So she was interviewing the Queen of Jordan, and she was just, it's like the world is watching this happen. Yes, we saw what happened a few Saturdays ago. It was horrific. Everybody who has a brain and a heart would say that was an act of terror. That is unconscionable. Yes, there should be some reaction to that. There should be some, but Hamas is not, you're not getting Hamas. You're getting regular ass people, children and women, people who are minding their business, living in this place that maybe they shouldn't be living in anyway. Do you know what I'm saying? Like we can have that discussion, but we really can't have the discussion. And now no food and no water. And we're all watching people die. Like at some point, I know President Biden went there to call, ask for a ceasefire. It didn't happen. It's not happening. And we are turning it off because there's nothing we can do about it. At the same time, I think we have to look at it. We have to look at it. We have to see what's going on because it's not going to stop 866-801-8255. So I just wanted to say that. I brought that up because 2 more hostages were released yesterday. We talked about it. One of them, Yocheved Lifshitz, she was an 85-year-old grandmother. She was one of the 2 hostages released on Monday. She talked about how the militia snatched her from her home, her in the kibbutz that she lived in, drove her away on a motorbike towards Gaza. She said it was a painful act during which she had been beaten and sustained bruises. Lifshitz said she was forced to walk on wet ground that descended into an underground tunnel system. She likened it to a spider web, where she was greeted by people who told her that they believe in the Quran and they promised not to harm her. And they didn't. She said she was initially grouped with a group of 25 before they separated her into a smaller group of 4. She slept on mattresses on the floor in the tunnels, which is better than a lot of people are sleeping right now in the Gaza Strip. She said she ate the same food that the Hamas fighters ate, and she received regular treatment from doctors during her incarceration. She's 85, so they made sure she had her medication. She said they really took care of the sanitary side of things so that we didn't get sick. And she said each of the 5 hostages in her group, so she was one of 5, not 4, received their own doctor, and there was a paramedic present who supervised medication. She said they were very generous to us, very kind. They kept us clean. They took care of every detail. There are a lot of women, and they knew about feminine hygiene, and they took care of everything there. She said she accused the Israel Defense Forces and the Shin Bet intelligence services of not taking threats from Hamas seriously. This is the grandmother that was released yesterday, and said the costly Gaza border fence erected by Israel has done nothing to protect her community from Hamas attacks. Hamas, they're underground. They got their El Chapo on. You're not bombing them. You're not bombing. For all we know, their tunnels probably are in another country.
And they don't have bunker busting bombs either, which is what you would even need to blow up tunnels underneath. They simply do not. They just have these missiles, these rockets that they can fire off, that then they knock on the top of the building. I don't know if you've seen that. I've seen one non-destructive one that knocks, and then 90 seconds later, they send another one in the same spot that levels the entire building. And what's still left? The tunnel underneath. And so it's just killing. The cycle of violence continues. I could talk about this for days. I have been silent on social media because I think, frankly, it's a little irresponsible for people to just jump in, pick a side, and say they're standing with this side or standing with that side. This is a multi-decade long in the modern era situation, and that, frankly, the West and many people have not, and I'm going to swear, fucking paid attention to. And frankly, the people that are saying stuff right now, that are out there saying they're standing with Israel or whatever, where were you when Iranian women were being tortured, kidnapped, and murdered in the street? Where were you? I came on this show. I went on social media and I begged for people to say something. But no, it didn't make the news. Masih Al-Najad came on this show when I filled in. We got her on this show and she spoke. But you know where else didn't take her? Jake Tapper is the only one that took her. Everywhere else was Fox News. So this is a problem in America of how we pay attention to other parts of the world. And that is what has upset me greatly from this whole thing, is that I see people coming out of the woodwork right now saying, oh, this is awful. Hamas did this. Where were you? Where have you been? Did you not see thousands of Palestinian kids killed over the last 20 years? I've been watching the Middle East since I was kind of awake in the late 90s, right? And I've been numb to this at this point. I am shocked by this, but I am not surprised by this attack. And that is in and of itself a sad experience. So what I've been doing over the last couple of weeks is I've been calling friends that work at the Anti-Defamation League. I have friends that work at the Atlantic Council. I've just been asking questions. I literally have a list of questions because I need to learn up more. And I'm a person that's informed. And I don't see anyone doing that right now. I just see people reacting.
Sina Gazenby, what are the questions? What are you asking? What kinds of questions?
Let me just literally just tell you.
You have a list. You literally have a list.
I literally have a list of questions. So one was basically, what was the context and how was this intelligence failure? How did this happen? Right? Like, Israel has one of the best intelligence apparatuses in the world. Okay. So this failure and the context of this failure is super important, right? They moved troops, and this is a lot has to do with Bibi's government. And if you look, and this is again stuff that I've researched over
Netanyahu for people.
for
Netanyahu.
Netanyahu's government is just a trash government. First of all, just an absolute trash government. 3/4 of Israelis right now do not want Bibi in office. They didn't want him in office, right? And that's why he literally did all this judicial reform to change the law. This is insidious stuff that he has been doing. I don't believe, this is now me personally, I don't believe he's ever wanted a two-state solution. I don't think he's ever wanted one. And that is the fundamental problem. You have a political problem that was created by the British with the Balfour Declaration when they created the Israeli state, but they never created the actual political solution. They could have said, hey, let's help Jewish people integrate into Palestine and create a multicultural society. But no, they just said, we're going to start this here. Despite the calls from both Palestinians and Jewish people within Palestine at that time that said, this is not going to work. This is all in history books. You can see quotes from people at that time saying, this will not work. And they did it anyways. And this is the hubris of power. And this is how power corrupts people's minds, and state actors can destroy generations of people. And so, look, I'll stop there for now. I don't want to.
I mean, again, if we don't have safe places where we can suss this out, have conversations, talk about it, and there are no sides. We're not watching a football game. We're watching human beings, human lives destroyed, human lives being upended, human lives being disrupted. And so we should be able to talk about it. There's a whole swath of folks who said that's not our problem. That's over there. We should be quiet. We should mind our business. But we ain't been minding our business. But by we, I mean America. America's been involved in all of this. America has fingers everywhere, right? So whether it's the conflict in Ukraine, whether it's the conflict with Russia and China, whatever, America has done things. There's these G8 summits that happen every year. Things are being said and done that we don't know anything about as American citizens. Corporations probably know, but corporations are the ones funding the politicians. So I get the apathy with the election cycle. I get the apathy because you feel very helpless because most of this is already decided. Even the candidates, like, why isn't there a primary? Yes, we get it. Joe Biden is the sitting president, but why shouldn't we have other people running against him? That's what and if he comes out, great. I just feel like we deserve better in this country where we pay taxes. We just do. So we'll keep talking. 8668, because that's the one thing we can do until they tell us we can't. Right? Yeah. I mean, it's the one thing we can do.
The thing that's lost right now is that you have people that don't want to talk about this. This takes all of the strength in a human being, whether you're a Jewish person or a Muslim person or a Palestinian Christian. It takes all of your energy to have a coherent conversation about something like this that's nuanced, because there's so many different points of view to kind of hold, right? And it's a shame that we are in a time period not like 9/11. You can't compare this to 9/11. Why? Because we didn't have social media in 9/11. We didn't have this psychic connection that now ramps up ourselves, right? Now, remember, when we get upset online, it's like a lion is attacking us. We need to remember that. That is the feeling, that is the thing that is activated in our brain. And so everyone is experiencing that right now, which is why I have not posted about this.
That's wise. That's wise. I haven't posted about it because I really don't know as much as I should. And I feel like you should not say, so I'm going to always, going to lean in to, I don't think we should be celebrating the loss of human life, period. Yeah. I don't think we should be calling for the loss of human life, period. That said, if my mama was kidnapped, we're going to have problems, it becomes very personal, right? So I get that too, so there's a lot of, or my mother was killed by somebody. There's nothing that I wouldn't move to, exact revenge in the current state that I'm in. I'm still evolving as a person, but right now I think I would want some revenge. I think I would want, I would want you to feel the pain that I'm feeling. That said, though, how do we move forward after that? After I get my get back, then what? Then what? You gonna get your get back? You gonna get your get back?
Another cycle. Yeah. And it's been going on for years, and it will keep going on. The principle that I keep coming back to, at least in my head, is if every child doesn't count, then no child counts. And if we can't operate from that perspective where every child has to count, then it's a wrap. Then this will never, there is no two-state solution. There is only going to be a solution when one side is completely dead. And even then, there still won't be a solution.